welcome back to my channel. I thought I'd film this video today. Basically, I went interrailing last summer and it was honestly the most amazing experience of my life. I loved it. When I got back in September, I filmed a video all about my experience of it and the things kind of that I wish I had known before I had gone. So if you are here because you're thinking of going interrailing, I would recommend going and watching that video first. I will link it here. You can go and watch that video and then maybe pop back. Anyway, I got so many questions on that video and I thought, actually, you know what? I should film a video. So if I keep looking down, it's because I've got my laptop here with all the questions on it, but I'm just going to run through them and let's see what some people said. So Candy says, is there any way you can upload some sort of plan, like the route you took and the places you visited, for how long? And can you recommend any Airbnbs or hostels? I'm struggling so much with organising my trip and your trip sounds exactly how I want mine to be. Well, that's really, really sweet of you to say. So I started in London and I went to Paris for 4 days. I was then in Brussels for 3 days, Bruges and Antwerp for half a day each. I then went to Rotterdam for 4 days, Amsterdam for 3 days. I stopped in Frankfurt for 1 day on my way to Prague, where I stayed for 5 days. I was then in Berlin for 3 days when my mum and Craig came to visit me. I then went to Budapest for 3 days, Barcelona for 6 days because my sister and her boyfriend came out to see me, which was really lovely. I then went to Genoa or Genova. I never really understood which of the two it was, but I just stopped there on the way to Rome. I was only in Rome for 2 days and then I went to Pisa for half a day, Florence for half a day and a night. I went to Milan for 2 days and then flew back to London. So the one kind of abnormality in that I think was flying from Budapest to Barcelona, because there was no way I would have been able to get the train in a day. That was the biggest journey I kind of did and I decided to take a plane in the end. But other than that, I'm really, really happy with everywhere that I went. I really, really wouldn't change much about my trip at all. So that is the route I took. If you'd like to do that, can't wait to hear if you do. In terms of hostels and Airbnbs, I think I'll link my favourite ones below, because then you can have a browse and probably a lot of people would rather find that themselves. But I will link my favourites down in the description below. Okay, next, Joey Moorings says, I'm going interrailing in June and I was wondering about how long waiting times and if you couldn't catch a single train that day. I'm only going to make a reservations train. Did you have any troubles with trains where reservations were compulsory, or did you have trouble taking trains? Okay, so I did have a few problems taking trains. I didn't actually book in advance any of them. So what I would do, I would kind of turn up in a city, kind of know when I was going to leave, and I'd probably book my ticket as I arrived in the city on the train. So usually you have to go to the counter and you just take your Interrail pass and you kind of specify which train you'd like to be on which day, and if they've got spaces they can put you on, usually for like €5 I think I paid average to make a reservation. But to be honest, most of them I just jumped on, which I don't actually think you're supposed to do. I think that's a bit naughty. And so a couple of times I got kicked out my seat, but it's really no big deal. Like, usually there are seats on the train so you can kind of wander down and grab one, but if a ticket inspector does come and you don't have a reservation, you might get in trouble. So reserve. I didn't really have any problems apart from leaving Barcelona. So I actually had two really not big issues, but kind of annoying issues. One was that I couldn't leave Barcelona and I ended up getting a megabus instead of getting a train, which was kind of quite expensive. And that was because I hadn't pre-booked, but they had been booked out for like weeks and weeks, so there was no way anyone was getting on any train. So that was really, really, really annoying. But at least like there are other options. You can fly or you can get megabuses, and there's lots and lots of coaches and things, and it's annoying because it's an extra budget for you, but I mean, you're never going to kind of be stranded in a country if you like. And then my other issue was that I wanted to go back to Paris after I went to Milan, and there weren't any trains leaving in the next 2 days, by which time my Interrail ticket would have run out. So I decided to just fly straight back to London instead. So, I mean, I kind of wanted to do it in a way where I didn't really know where I was going next, and I would kind of just decide as and when it happened. But if you are kind of worried about not getting on trains and things, then I would prepare in advance, because you can pre-book your tickets quite far in advance. There's the Interrail app, which I think is quite good, which you can book overnight trains and things on as well. So if you do want to be more scheduled with it, more organised, then I would recommend, yeah, booking in advance. But honestly, I really had no problems. It was annoying not being able to leave like Barcelona for a couple of days, and obviously it pushes back the rest of your trip, but I think it's better to be spontaneous and just play things by ear than have your entire trip booked before you go. Okay, I'm waffling, right. Thanks, Joey. Hannah says, if you don't mind me asking, what age were you when you went interrailing? I was 21. Max says, one question, I'm going on a Euro trip this summer and I wanted to know how much it costed you for food, and I do not know if you went to Brussels, but it's really, really lovely there. Okay, well, thanks Max. I did go to Brussels and I did absolutely love it. The weather was so nice when I was there. So I actually went interrailing because I won a grant through my university in which I won £3,000, and that was really all that was the only money I actually had. So I booked a 30-day continuous pass and 15-day continuous pass with that, and I used the rest of the money on my food and hostels and things. And I came back with about £200 to spare. So if that gives you an idea, I guess I kind of spent £2,800 on a 45-day trip, which I think is quite a lot, but I had the money and it was for my trip, so I went with it like that. So I hope that helps. Hannah from before also says, how much did an average hostel cost? I didn't spend more than £20 a night on a hostel. Usually they were about £12 to £15 a night, and then one night I kind of splashed out and spent £20. Ooh! Okay, Isaac said, did you go on your own or with other people? Yeah, I actually went on my own, and I think a lot of people might not be comfortable doing that, but I absolutely loved it. I hate to admit it, but I'm quite a selfish person, and it was quite important to me that I could just go wherever I wanted to go and explore, whereas if I was with someone, I feel like you'd kind of have to be like polite and be like, yeah, we can go there, when really you just don't care about that place whatsoever. So I went on my own and I loved it, and I wouldn't let that put you off if you are thinking of going on your own. It was so fun. And also there's so many people travelling and staying in those hostels at the same time as you, so you're never really alone. Like, I made friends in every single city that I was in. Animations of the Epic said, just wondering where you stored your stuff in the hostels and when you went out during the day, as I don't want to be lugging luggage around during the day. Okay, so I took a huge rucksack with me, and most hostels have lockers for you, so I would purchase a padlock before you go. But with the hostels that didn't have lockers, I would actually padlock my entire bag, and I know the person could steal the bag, which I guess is like not handy. You could chain it to your bed, I suppose. There is options, but I never really felt uncomfortable leaving it in the hostel. I think everyone's there for the same reason, and I mean, I don't think anyone was really interested in stealing anything from a rucksack. And then when I visited cities that I wasn't staying overnight in, all the train stations have these big locker rooms, and it's quite cheap just to store your rucksack in there for the entire day, and it goes into a locked locker. I think you just pay for 24 hours and then you can go and pick it up whenever you like. So yeah, I didn't really have a problem with that. Lockers in the hostels was the usual. Dari says, hey, loved your video, just wanted to ask, how do I reserve a seat or bed for the train, and how much does it cost? Planning on interrailing this summer. Well, have an amazing time interrailing. I would say that you can book your reservations for the trains either on the Interrail app in advance, or you can do it at the train stations. As you turn up into the cities, you can book your ticket to leave, which is what I did. And I didn't actually get any night trains, but I think that they're a lot cheaper than staying in a hostel, so someone recommended to me that if you need to save money on the way around, get a night train instead of staying in a hostel in the city that night. So they're definitely cheaper than a £20 reservation, so that's good if that helps, but I didn't actually get any myself. And then reservations for just a normal seat kind of varied between €3 and €12, depending on how big the trip was and how far in advance you were booking it. So yeah, that's that. Alicia says, thanks for posting this video, it helped a lot. Did you feel safe whilst you were in the hostels and on the trains? And did you take any night trains whilst on your trip? So yeah, no, I didn't take any night trains, and I did feel really, really safe on the trains and in the hostels. A lot of the trains are like the Hogwarts Express, where they're in cabins of about 6 people down a corridor. So I felt really safe in those because you're in your cabin and it's obvious if someone's come in. And so in those I was kind of taking naps and stuff, because you can put your bag under your chair, under your feet or something, so you're fine with that. And then in the hostels, I felt really, really safe, yeah. Most of them are youth hostels, so most of the people staying there are the same age as you, similar ages. All the people are there for the same reasons, so there's lots of conversation and chatting and stuff. I definitely felt safe. There was only one time on my trip where I did feel slightly uncomfortable, and it was when I was in a laundrette in Genova, and this man kind of wouldn't leave me alone, but in the end someone ended up helping me, and it was okay. But in my whole 45-day trip, that was the one time that I ever felt like I was in trouble. Lotta said, I watched all of your interrailing vlogs during the weekend. Oh, that's nice. I'm 18 years old and I've been thinking that I want the same adventure as you are. My mum and dad, however, aren't too excited about me going on my own. What do you think? I think it really depends on you as an individual, because I'm quite independent, and I had just come back from my trip from Taiwan, where I was on my own for 5 months out there in a country where no one spoke English. So I think my parents were kind of like, well, if you can do that, you can travel around Europe, okay. But I would say to your mum and dad, like, it is something that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teenagers are doing at the same time. So everywhere you are with people your age that are doing the same adventure as you and going on the same experience. And actually, I would recommend going on your own. I know you feel safer having friends, and I guess it's funner and you can always chat to someone. But I think being on my own was really eye-opening for me, and it was quite a unique experience, actually. I felt like that whole year, the year that I went to Taiwan and interrailing, I just kind of like really found myself, and I've feel so comfortable in myself now, and I know that I can kind of cope in those situations. So I would say to your mum and dad that I would recommend going on your own. But if there's any doubt in your mind and you feel like you could be uncomfortable, then maybe take a friend. UFan says, is it true that you cannot use the Interrail ticket to take a train to travel out of your own country? Yeah, that is true. So obviously I'm in England, so I got my Interrail ticket. It means that you can't kind of get the train to Paris. You can't get the Eurostar to Paris or anything. You have to get your own way there. So I started by flying to Paris, which if you book far enough in advance is really, really cheap. But then as soon as you're out of your own country, your Interrail ticket covers you. Marta says, hi, I really want to go on an Interrail, but I don't know if I should go alone. How did you do it? Did you do it alone? Yeah, I did it alone and absolutely loved it. I would recommend it. Oh, my dungarees are falling down. That's good. Serena says, love the video. I'm planning on interrailing for a couple of months during my gap year. Were you travelling on your own or were you with friends? As I'll be alone and was wondering what it's like. Okay, so lots of the same question here. Yeah, I was alone. Loved it. And it was fun. Oh, okay, and that was the last question actually. So I really hope this was helpful. If you do have any more questions that I didn't answer in this video or my previous one, please feel free to comment below and I could do a part 2 or 3 or whatever this is. Okay, anyway, so yeah, I hope that was helpful. Please subscribe if you would like to. Give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful. Comment below any questions you have that I haven't answered, and I will see you next week. And enjoy interrailing if you're going, like this week or something. And that's it. Right, I've got to go to work. Woo! Work, 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 work. It's me, I mean, work, 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 work.